bioscience has the potential to address some of the world's greatest challenges, such as feeding a growing population and offering alternatives to dwindling natural resources. Did you know that by 2030 energy demand will grow by 20%? Or that by 2050 there will be at least 9 billion people to feed on the planet? The bioeconomy is the economic benefit of embracing these challenges with biological solutions. It already employs 600,000 people in the UK and is worth over £35 billion a year to our economy and is set to grow fast. We at BBSRC are ensuring that the UK's excellent research base is primed to seize these opportunities for the benefit of society while delivering real economic impact.
As Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth, I'm proud to present the European Bioeconomy Strategy. This strategy will help us to deploy a true and sustainable bioeconomy that works in tandem with nature to provide for our needs while also protecting our environment for generations to come. The bioeconomy is already nourishing us by providing the food we eat, clean water, energy, housing and other materials. Through the sustainable use of renewable resources, it has the potential to help us face our global challenges. Through advances in science, technology and innovation, we can fully unlock the potential of Europe's bioeconomy. This will be essential in delivering on our Green Deal objectives toward becoming the first climate-neutral continent by 2050. It's time to look ahead and make the green transition happen.
The Bioeconomy Strategy aims at ensuring food security, moving from a fossil-based economy to a bioeconomy, and unlocking the potential of seas and oceans through better use of our resources and smart use of those we don't use yet in sectors which have not been exploited, such as agriculture, marine, etc. To move towards these objectives, an action plan was drawn up and recently adjusted to the new environmental, economic and societal challenges Europe is facing. So, what are the main priorities of the new action plan and how can they be achieved? For a start, bio-based sectors will be boosted. This will be done, for example, by unlocking investments and markets, deploying innovative bio-based solutions, and developing substitutes to plastics that are bio-based, recyclable and marine biodegradable. Secondly, the deployment of local bioeconomies will be encouraged across Europe, for example through the transition to sustainable food and farming systems, sustainable forestry and more diversified revenues for farmers and fishermen. And last but not least, a better understanding of the ecological boundaries will enhance the knowledge base on biodiversity and ecosystems and benefits of biodiversity in primary production. With these three priorities, Europe is setting its course for a more innovative and sustainable bioeconomy, where natural resources boost growth and jobs, where people
I got them from my grandfather, so I didn't have
As Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth, I'm proud to present the European Bioeconomy Strategy. This strategy will help us to deploy a
When I present it to her, with you.
One acre.
Thank you so much, Professor, for the visuals. I think it's right about time that we begin. Our speaker has been able to log in and he's with us on the call. Welcome, Dr. Peter Wanyama. So the concept of bioeconomy, like you've been looking at the visuals as shared by Professor Arthur Tugumi, the concepts of bioeconomy have gained wide popularity over the past decade, or maybe more than even a decade. And the topic became part of various reports and strategies in a number of countries. Bioeconomy definitions and perspectives shift from factor substitution to biotechnology innovation perspective. And nowadays, the concept is much more complex and environmentally oriented than before. The aim of this session is to outline different definitions, concepts to highlight the key sector of bioeconomy, as well as the opportunities for the development of this sector. The discussion today focuses on the links between bioeconomy and the circular economy and sustainable development and innovation. In a bioeconomy, renewable biological resources are used to replace fossil fuels, as well as for food, animal feed, and other bio-based products. Like you're looking in the visuals, we are looking at how do we replace non-degradable plastics with biodegradable plastics. So the idea is based on increasing the use of biotechnologies and biofuels, and is a response to growing concerns about unsustainable use and management of finite natural resources. The bioeconomy is based on the premises that achieving a better balance between the biological resources and human economies, economic activities is generally problem-free. So the bioeconomy is just the industry's response to current global social, environmental, and economic challenges, including climate change, food insecurity, and natural resource shortages. So today's session, like we had communicated to you, we brought to you an expert on the bioeconomy, Dr. Peter Wanyama. He has been working with the Ministry of Science and Technology as an assistant commissioner and in the Department of Biosciences and Bioeconomy. Dr. Wanyama is a veterinarian or veterinary doctor by profession with practical experience in developing and planning with good understanding of value chains for socio-economic development. He oversees international, multi-sectorial, and interministerial collaborations in biosciences and bioeconomy in Uganda, including development of policy standards and regulations, and providing strategic leadership in implementation of biosciences and bioeconomy policies, priorities, plans, standards, and regulations. I want to take this opportunity to invite Professor Arthur to welcome our guest and give some introductory note as our official, staff here on the call. Thank you so much. Welcome, Professor Arthur.
Thank you so much, Perez, for that introduction. Good morning to everyone. All protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming on to the call. I am here representing the Dean of the School of Biosciences, and that is none other than Dr. Joseph Chambade. He requested me to be able to stand in for him, and therefore, what I'm speaking on his behalf as somebody who has been sent. I want to take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Peter Wanyama. You are welcome, sir. We are glad to have you in our midst, and your presence means a lot to us and to our students and to the future generation. We keep wondering, when is the future? Actually, the future is now. The future is not the other time to come. The future begins now. If it is not now, it will actually not be tomorrow. And therefore, your presence, sir, Dr. Peter Wanyama, you are is so highly welcome. We are so privileged to have you, given your level of experience and expertise in these things. It's quite really pleasing to have you in our midst. Our students of biotechnology, you are so far much lucky. You are in an information age. You know more than I personally knew at your level. And that's fine, that's okay, that's what it's supposed to be. With all these series that Perez and his colleagues have organized, I really want to thank Perez and his team members of being able to create quite a huge volume of awareness to our mass of students of Bachelor of Science in Biotechnology. It's not only the Bachelor of Science in Biotechnology students, but also other programs in our department, even our college, and even other places elsewhere, even beyond Makerere University. I think this is something that we should be grateful to, and we should encourage for all students to do, because we get knowledge from different corners of the society we live in. And this is knowledge and information that propels us forward and actually tells us that we are on the right track when it comes to our career. By now, I'm very sure that there's many students who are on the call do appreciate the diversity of the animal we are talking about as biotechnology. Many times we get challenges to defining where are the boundaries, where are not the boundaries. But by now, I'm sure you very much appreciate how diverse this particular area is. As you have already also heard me say that we have revised our curriculum. We have said this over and over and over again. The curriculum was coming, I think, 10 years old, and things have changed. Biology is so dynamic. Biology is so, it's not static. It's not only biology, science generally, even society, if you want, actually, you know. So things change every now and again, and therefore it requires that we do revise our curriculum so that we keep the pace of our relevance to what is needed. So it's a very timely moment to talk to you, ladies and gentlemen, about this. Now, the topic of today's discussion is advancing Uganda's bioeconomy through biotechnology and addressing sustainable development goals and the National Development Plan 3 for Uganda. Now, the topic speaks by itself, and I believe there is no better person qualified to talk about this than Dr. Peter Wanyama. Now, as you have been seeing in the visuals and the audios that I was playing earlier, we've been around with bioeconomy, only that we may not know. And in order to be able to harness it, I don't speak for government, neither do I believe I'm speaking to government, but our priorities must change. We cannot have the same priorities for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and we think we can be able to move. What I was playing around was a video from Europe. Of course, we are in Africa, we are in Uganda, we are not in Europe, but that is what they think. And now, we do not need to think like them. Well, even if we thought like them, we could be able to have a different strategy. And therefore, my main point, what I'm trying to say here is that bioeconomy has been here with us. Agriculture is a form of bioeconomy, you know, it still already feeds us. You know, our paper industry is still a form of bioeconomy. But I think we need to be able to change priorities and make them more formal and be able to harvest and even put in much more than we are being able to be having here. Otherwise, we still remain vestigial, we still remain rudimentary, we still remain unprocessed, we still remain raw. Otherwise, the way we've been having the bioeconomy, if we continue at that pace, we may slag behind once again. I've always wondered that, how is it so that mosses are able to grow on a stone and they have life? Not many people have picked interest in understanding how do mosses manage to live on small amounts of water and they live on a stone. You're not going to find mosses in your garden. You're not going to find mosses in places where there is abundant water, maybe abundant water for a while. So we need to be able to know, how does the living environment survive in our natural conditions? And once we get that knowledge and get that understanding, that's when we are able to transmit, to take that knowledge from the living environment to enhance our bioeconomy. It's a huge word, and I'm believing that Dr. Peter Wanyama is going to demystify it and be able to explain it to us and to the students, so that we can be able to see our potential, because the potential that Uganda has is far much higher. But I think we need to be able to know those potentials, where they are. It is better to be skilled, to involve yourself in enhancing the skills that you have, or taking over your priorities which you have, than actually thinking on priorities what you do not have. We cannot think of dryland agriculture at this particular time unless if we try to go and do the farming in Karamoja. But what about, have we exhausted in areas where it is not a dry land before we begin to think of dryland agriculture? What are the aspects of bioeconomy that we can measure in, that we can excel in? We are not going to be able to excel in everything. I don't believe in excelling in everything. You can excel in one area and the other, but there is the other one which you will not be able to manage. So, and I think the best strategy moving forward would be perhaps to measure and to put a lot of focus on those areas where we are strong, and be able to leverage our strength for the sake of the other areas where we are not be able to be strong in one way or the other. So with all these, I pray that our discussion in this time will be able to be helpful. And I think the National Development Plan 3 gives a highlight in all these things. We talk about science, technology, and innovation, but then we don't realize that bioeconomy is actually at the very center of each and everything. As long as there is biological and life processes in what we are trying to do, we are not going to avoid the bioeconomy, and we are going to be able to move forward. With those many remarks, I want to thank you very much, Dr. Peter Wanyama, and every one of you who is on a call. And those are the words of my dean. He sends greetings and regards, and I prays that you'll be able to have a wonderful discussion. And it is now my duty and honor to invite you, Dr. Peter Wanyama, to come and address. Now, I want to apologize in advance because I have things working in the background that I'll be in and out, but I'll be on the call at the same time. So in case you don't see me participating, just know that I am a little bit off, but I'm taking care of other needs. Otherwise, Dr. Peter Wanyama, sir, we are delighted to have you in our midst. Please, the floor is yours. Take it on and address the participants. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Professor Arthur, for those kind words. You have indeed spoken to my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, biosciences and bioeconomy issues are not only very close, but are also deeply embedded in my soul. Engaging in them is therefore my great joy. It's therefore a great honor to participate in your online series of biotech as you tackle this very important topic of bioeconomy through biotechnology and sustainable increase in food supply, and associated with this, sorry, my internet seems not to be very stable, and for that case, I'm using two gadgets. Because one is a bit defective, the audio system doesn't work. As I was saying, a growing global population projected to be over 9 billion people by 2050 will lead to an increase in food demand. And associated with this is, of course, increasing demand for health services, textiles, building materials, among others, and there will also be increasing competition for finite natural resources, which will lead to rapid use of the natural resources, And as we deplete the natural resources, there will also be increased climate change. Food production to address the food demand for the growing population would be the best option to more than double the food production, but will not address other societal challenges. For example, the dependence, the fossil fuel dependence, the depletion of the natural resources, demand for health services, and unemployment, and also energy, plus the climate change, among others. Now, much as we have been living in a bio-based sort of economy, bioeconomy has not been becoming popular. Bioeconomy is nothing but it's a multi-sectorial and interdisciplinary framework for addressing interconnected societal challenges through efficiently harnessing biological resources, including disease-causing organisms, to high-value products and services.
Excuse me.
It is the Yes, sir.
Are you able to share your screen?
I'll be sharing it.
Sure. I thought you were actually sharing.
Am I there? Hello?
Yes, please.
Could it have come?
Not yet.
Hey. Am I there now? Yeah.
Yes, we can see it. I think you will need to put it in slideshow for better viewing.
As I was saying, bioeconomy is a translation of biosciences innovation into commercial and industrial products and services with the potential to transform all sectors that rely on biological resources. For example, in Europe, bioeconomy is now central to the success of the European economy, with a turnover of about 2.3 trillion euros and accounts for 8.2% of the workforce. And Bioeconomy is projected to create more than 1 million jobs by 2030. In a study conducted by IFPRI, that is the International Food Policy Research Institute, in 2020 for the case of Uganda, IFPRI found out that a 5-year regulatory delay in deploying bioeconomy and research would cost the economy about $300 million in one item, bananas. And on the other hand, bioeconomy would also result in direct benefits of $43.4 million each year for about 30 years in bananas and cassava to both the farmers and consumers. So bioeconomy is very critical to our transformation. Now, today, more than ever, bioeconomy has become a subject of focused attention from policymakers and corporate decision makers. This is because of the central role that bioeconomy can play in sustaining our livelihoods. Now, for the case of Uganda, the bioeconomy that we are trying to advance is a bioeconomy that addresses food security. It's a bioeconomy that reduces emission of greenhouse gases. It's a bioeconomy that addresses the energy demands. It's a bioeconomy also that also addresses the health services demand. And it's a bioeconomy that depends on renewable biological resources. And our bioeconomy is built on a strong foundation of indigenous knowledge, and it's also a step towards modernizing our traditional sectors that rely on biological resources, and it also provides an avenue for efficiently participating in the fourth industrial revolution. When we put on a lens of bioeconomy, we view biological resources beyond food and feed. We assume or we visualize biological resources as that can enable us to produce biomaterials, produce for example, but it's natural that enables existing intense biological, and it provides therefore a shift to the traditional knowledge-based development mechanisms that foster more efficient systems of production, processing, and consumption. As you may realize, in the early days, we used to pride in ourselves that Uganda is gifted by nature. We are blessed, we have abundant biological resources, but along the way, as our population increases, the population continues utilizing these biological resources. So therefore, the natural resources are getting depleted. Along the way, we also discovered the fossil oil. And when you look outside, when you use the fossil oil, there are also associated problems of overdependence on fossil oils, because fossil oils also produce carbon dioxide, which increases on the global warming. And now the world over, even developed countries are now shifting away from dependence on fossil oils, and they are embracing a bioeconomy because of the earlier reasons I told you. The bioeconomy increases livelihoods and provides other benefits, including job creation. Therefore, as Uganda, we are also embracing a bioeconomy such that we can reap from our abundant biological resources. And as we talk now, a country like Norway is actually going to ban the use of petroleum products. For example, diesel and petrol cars will now not be allowed in Norway to come 2025. Therefore, the shift is towards the utilization of smart energies, and one of the smart energies is the bio-based fuels. And bioeconomy is also a crucial element of the circular economy that ensures that there is reuse and recycling of resources to enable complete life cycle. In the past, some of us, we could have realized that in the past, as we're growing up, if, say, for example, you're a girl, it's the girl who has been born first, the brother who comes after that girl would be given the sister's dresses. That is the bioeconomy that we are talking about, one which can efficiently reuse or recycle biological resources. We used to put on our sisters' clothes simply because we had embedded in our brains that knowledge of reuse, that indigenous knowledge that were born with us. Therefore, bioeconomy in Uganda that we are trying to promote is one that can efficiently use and reuse or even recycle biological resources to contribute to a circular economy. And what are the segments of bioeconomy that we are talking about in Uganda? We divide the segment of bioeconomy into 3 core areas. We have the core bioeconomy that consists of sectors. We are no longer talking about the sectors in this area because we have embraced NDP3 that is promoting the program implementation approach of government activities. So we have the core bioeconomy sectors that include agriculture and forest, and these are areas that are involved in actual production and utilization. And then we also have the partial bioeconomy, and then thereafter the indirect bioeconomy. And the life cycle approach of biological resources ensures that all biological resources go through their complete life cycle such that we can benefit maximally from the biological resources. When we're training, you will excuse me because I have used an example of livestock. When we're training, during my training, we're trained that cattle, for example, a cow, we can get milk, we can also get beef out of the cows, we can also get maybe hides, but we're not even valuing the waste. But when you put on the lens of a bioeconomy, even waste is valuable, and waste is no longer trash, but a resource. So through the use of the waste from cattle, we can either produce the biofertilizers, we can go a step further and do the anaerobic fermentation using, of course, the biotechnology to produce the biogas. The biogas can even be further refined into hydrogen, or part of the biogas can even be converted into conventional generators to generate electricity which to be joined onto the national grid. And at the same time, we view that these biofertilizers can be used to produce even other biological resources, for example, the medicines. And then what is a bioeconomy? Just as the concept is a bit new and it is becoming more popular. There are several definitions that have come up. The first definition was by the EU in 2012, and then there was also US also followed with its definition, and its definition is very brief, and I liked that. And the first Global Bioeconomy Summit in 2018 also came up with its definition. And then as Uganda, when we joined the former Ministry of Science and Technology, we kept on sensitizing people about the value of the bioeconomy. And along the way, it was agreed that we cannot continue just talking about the bioeconomy. We definitely needed a policy. And in Uganda, the first thing for you to do when you are developing a policy is to conduct a regulatory impact assessment. And in the regulatory impact assessment, we were a number of stakeholders, we invited a number of stakeholders, and during the regulatory impact assessment, we defined a bioeconomy in the Ugandan context as a knowledge-based development model that entails sustainable extraction, production, processing, distribution, and consumption of goods and services from living materials. We do not want to call again biological resources, because that would require further definition. And that's how we defined a bioeconomy. And what is the relevance of a bioeconomy in the development frameworks of Uganda? Our bioeconomy addresses yes, we are all structures. In line with the United Nations agenda, it also agenda. Hello? Sorry about the interruptions. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, I was talking about, hello, sorry about the continuity. I was saying that our bioeconomy is in line with the higher national objectives. For example, National Objective 11.2, which provides that the state shall provide agricultural, industrial, technological, and scientific development by adopting appropriate policies and enactment of enabling legislations. And also National Objective number 14A that obligates the states to ensure that all economic development efforts are directed at achieving maximum social and cultural well-being of the people, and bioeconomy tries as much as possible to ensure that all biological resources, our biological resources, are maximally utilized. And Vision 2040 recognizes the value of biosciences and it tries to affirm that it will support research in biosciences to enhance agriculture, health, and energy. And NDP 3 also recognizes the value of science, technology, and innovation as a key in improving the quality of life, and came up with the program approach in conducting or implementing government services. It came up with 18 programs which encourages sectors, different sectors which have been working independently to work together. And if it envisages that if all these programs are properly implemented, we shall definitely have an average economic growth of 7% growth, and it will also increase the per capita income, and it will also lower poverty levels, then also improve on the health. And during the policy development process, we came up with a vision which could guide us, and we also came up with a mission and a goal of the bioeconomy policy. And those are the visions, the goals. And then we also developed 6 specific objectives which are in line with the NDP 3, and also where we try as much as possible to address the sustainable development goals. We have 6 specific objectives, and when you look at specific objective number 2 of promoting biosciences research, innovation, and national transformation, to us, we felt that it is the core of this bioeconomy policy because it has 7 priority areas which talks about agriculture, because we know very well that Uganda is an agricultural country. It talks about health services, provision of health improvement health services, and then at the same time, it also addresses energy. And then what are the advances? Where do we expect ourselves to go? We wanted, first of all, to consider bio-waste. Sometimes bio-waste have been treated as trash. But when you look at the production of waste in Uganda, it is estimated that each person produces around 0.65 kilograms of waste per day. And therefore, that makes us to be very, very well blessed to harness the waste. Now, through anaerobic fermentation of the waste, we can produce biofertilizers. We can also produce the bioplastics, we can produce biogas, and from biogas, we can even refine further to produce hydrogen. We could even go another step to compress the biogas and sell it as liquid petroleum gas that we normally use. And other fellows have gone ahead to develop even biogas cars. Now, even this same biogas, we could go another step and use it to produce power, which we can connect to the national grid. And through the utilization of our bio-waste, we shall improve on the agricultural productivity through the provision or the production of biofertilizers. We shall improve on the environment. We shall also prevent global warming, because as the waste continue rotting, they also emit greenhouse gases. And through efficiently utilizing the waste, we can also create jobs, decent jobs, and we can also encourage recycling-oriented society. And we feel that if the bioeconomy policy is appropriately funded, and then we have private sector involvement, then research is also appropriately funded. We want to contribute to increase the access to water and sanitation. We want also to contribute to increase the access to energy. We want to increase access to agricultural production, and through efficient utilization of all our biological resources, including waste. We want also to contribute to maintenance of our biodiversity, because even in the bioeconomy policy, under objective number 1, we have proposed to come up with either ideas of harnessing our biological resources in the wilderness, and also promoting ex situ conservation. And that's how we are going to contribute towards the maintenance of biodiversity. And we also want to contribute towards increased access to effective health services through the use of our indigenous knowledge. And because of that, we also want to contribute to fewer risks. There will be fewer risks to better energy, better agricultural and industrial practices, and therefore this will all lead to better health. And as a result, we tend to contribute towards prosperity of our country through a bioeconomy. And if the bioeconomy is successfully implemented, we can subdue the earth. We can do anything with the knowledge that we have acquired, and we shall ensure that our biological resources are properly harnessed and we benefit maximally out of them. I thank you for listening. But above all, we have developed a bioeconomy policy because for us to attract investment from government, we definitely need a conducive policy environment, and we definitely need also a law. After the development of this policy, we tend to take it to cabinet for approval, and then when the policy has been approved, shall definitely have to go out to sensitize or to popularize the policy. And then we shall also develop a Bioeconomy Act. Possibly we shall have to develop an economy bill, which we shall definitely take to Cabinet for approval. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Peter. That was really a very insightful discussion about today's session on the bioeconomy. So at this point, we would like to take questions. For those of us who have a few questions according to the presentation and anything in regard to the bioeconomy, this is the time to forward them. Yes, Dr. Peter is really passionate about bioeconomy. And in the time I have known Dr. Peter, he has really been engaging internationally. Recently, I was able to attend one of the first East African bioeconomy conferences, and right there was ignition of these discussions around the bioeconomy. Like Professor Arthur presented in the opening during the visuals, most nations are interested in this bioeconomy and they're undertaking it. So it's only high time that we also embrace it here in Uganda, but also Africa, and try to match with the national standards. For those of us who may have questions, we are going to allow those of you who are able to unmute and forward their questions to proceed. You can raise your hand or maybe type in the chat space. We shall be able to read your questions. But I had a question that came in earlier at the beginning from one of the students, and she was asking if tourism was part of the bioeconomy. And she thinks that tourism is a significant, sector that should be scientifically integrated. So she would like to know if tourism could be part of the bioeconomy. I think Dr. Peter could respond to that.
Yeah, thank you for the question. As I indicated earlier, through strategic, through Objective 2, we are talking about supporting research in utilization of genetic materials, including from wildlife. Then 2, we are also thinking about promoting or supporting ex situ conservation of all our biological resources, including wildlife. You will agree with me that there has been a tendency of poaching. And what brings about poaching? It's because people want also to utilize some of those animals. But if we encourage ex situ conservation, where we have maybe either we allow farmers who are capable of maybe even managing those wildlife animals at maybe their places. Now they can even utilize those. And at the same time, if we have people who are interested in visiting the game parks, but we have people who are doing farming through ex situ conservation outside the conservation areas is what we are referring to as ex situ conservation.